To get to campsites like this, and this, and this, you have to go up and down things like this, and this, and this. We all like to spend money on lift kits, bumpers, tents, and lights. But the most important aspect of it all isn't the supercharger that most of us want to help carry that weight. It's the ability to stop it. I too am guilty of not addressing this soon enough. And I've spent money on quote-unquote brake upgrades in the past, only to be disappointed with the no difference in stopping, no difference in brake life, and no difference in brake fade while hitting the mountain roads. I finally found a solution to our problem that's designed in South Africa by four-wheel drive enthusiasts for four-wheel drive enthusiasts. Let's dive into something I wish I'd bought sooner, the PowerBrake D-Line Direct OEM Replacement Kit.
Hey guys, Tyler with Independence Overland. So today I'm going to replace the brakes on the FJ with Power Brakes, and this is their D-Line kit. This isn't the kit that has the big caliper. This is their more affordable line. Everything I've learned is that this is a significant upgrade to the stock brakes, and the main thing isn't that I feel the FJ is insufficient at braking. It seems to do a good job, but man, I wear through brake pads so fast. And talking with DeLon, one of the founders of this company, he really knows what he's talking about with brakes. You can tell that they are passionate about four-wheel drive brake systems. So if I was going to trust this thing with a brake upgrade, it was going to be through them. I've seen firsthand some of these brake pads that have thousands of miles, tens of thousands of miles on them, and they still look brand new. So in combination with the rotor and the brake pad compound that they are using, these brakes are just supposed to work like magic. I've talked to other individuals about it firsthand, and they love their power brake systems. Because I'm waiting on a new Tacoma, I'm not a rich man, so I had to cut costs somewhere. So I got the D-Line from PowerBrake, which is basically a direct replacement. You don't have to upgrade your calipers. And I'm sure by now you guys have heard of PowerBrake, but I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a more affordable option. And it's still expensive, it's still quality stuff, but again, this is cheaper than buying a brand new truck. Because the new Toyotas have a bunch of new features that do look pretty appealing, I thought I would go through and do a series on basically upgrading your old Toyota. And yes, some of these parts are expensive, but it's a lot cheaper than a $60,000 truck. This is one of several videos that I'm going to be doing on how to modernize your old Toyota, give it some new features and give it a fresh feel. That way, you can have confidence and just have fun owning your old truck, so you don't have to worry about those expensive new payments. So anyway, let's dive into this and get started on these brakes.
This brake kit looks similar to any other brake kit that you'll find for your vehicle, and that's because it doesn't include the calipers, and it's just as simple as any other typical brake job. Both the front and rear kits are sold separately, and both kits will come with a side-specific rotor and, of course, brake pads. But let's talk about why these are drastically different than your typical brake kit. First, let's talk about the rotors. These are made out of a special high-carbon alloy designed by PowerBrake for high thermal loads. You'll see that these rotors are not drilled, and it's for a good reason. And this is from my own research and not a quote of PowerBrake. For off-road applications, a drilled rotor is known to crack during water crossings. You can heat your brakes up on a descent, cross a creek, and the rotor can be cooled too quickly and cause a thermal shock. I am replacing cheap drilled rotors during this brake upgrade, and over the past few years I've found that all they do is fill up with dirt and mud anyway, and as you will see, didn't appear to help much with cooling. As for the brake pads, these are equally as impressive. Brake fade, for those that may not know, is when your brakes get too hot, aren't cooling off quickly enough, and result in your brakes not producing enough friction to slow you down like they normally do. And of course, this effect is compounded when your vehicle is a heavy build. Even using low gearing on the steep trails of Colorado, I have personally experienced brake fade, and it can be quite scary to say the least. OEM brake pads can handle temperatures up to around 700 degrees before experiencing brake fade. As you get into cheap brake pads, those will experience brake fade even sooner. However, PowerBrake's custom designed brake compound can withstand up to 1,112 degrees Fahrenheit before experiencing brake fade. The materials used in both their brake pads and their rotors are designed to shed the heat as quickly as possible. So not only can they withstand higher temperatures before brake fade sets in, but they cool down faster, so it should rarely be a problem in the first place.
Okay, so something unique with these brake systems, and this is on the D-Line, and this is also on the main line, I forget what it's called, their primary kits, but every one of their rotors has these paint marks on it. Every one of these paint marks corresponds to a temperature rating. Blue paint is 527 degrees, green paint is 860, orange is 1022, and pink paint is 1160. So the reason that they put these paint marks on here is because now you can tell what the maximum temperature your braking system has reached. So these paint marks will tell you how hot these rotors have gotten. So once the blue turns white, it'll never turn back to blue. So whenever you go to do a brake job or you're rotating your tires or something, you can pay attention to this and be like, whoa, what's going on here? Because maybe you'll have one rotor that is extremely hot, and then you can, obviously you should be looking at your pads anyway, but it might be a sign if one of your rotors is getting hotter than the others that you have a dragging brake or something like that. So it's just one of those things, and you also know that your brake system may be getting too hot in general. So even if you're not a person that's that like mechanically savvy, doing brakes is incredibly easy, of course, but with these, it will tell you if there is a problem. If this red line does turn white, then perhaps you're just running too hot, and it's time to look into the Powerbrake system that does come with the calipers, because then it's just on another level. So I think this is a very simple and effective tool, because it's one of those things that for me, even though I'm a fleet mechanic, whenever I pull this thing apart, that will stick out. There's no like question of like trying to examine the rotor and be like, oh, is this thing wearing too quickly or anything like that. Paying attention to the heat on these rotors it's a big step up. Going over my old rotors, and these were pretty cheap, and they definitely look like they've gotten pretty hot actually. But that might just be brake dust that I'm looking at. But they are drilled, and I've never had cracking issues, but what I have found is that these just get filled with dirt. And I just washed this thing before I brought it in, so you can't tell as much, but they're always filled with dirt, so that doesn't actually serve a purpose. So comparing these two rotors, my budget upgrade versus this thing, this is a much heavier rotor. And the other thing I can see is that the plates are actually thicker on the Powerbrake. So I assume the reason they made this so heavy is because it will take more to heat this up. And of course it will take more to cool it down at that point. But you know what, if it can deal with more heat, I'm not gonna experience brake fade as much. Going down some of these trails, which I'm really good about using low gear so I can avoid that. But either way, when I'm on mountain passes, going towards Denver or something like that, I want my brakes to perform and perform well. Okay, so part of the reason that I'm upgrading my brakes right now is because I did upgrade to this. I don't know if it was actually an upgrade or not, but I was going cheap at the time. And so I bought these, and they've held up all right. I'm glad I haven't had any cracks or anything like that. But the other side of this is that I go through brakes really quick. I ended up going back to the OEM brake pads, which seem to last the longest out of any of the ones that I've tried. But even those are pretty expensive, and they don't last all that long. Even the rear ones, because of the traction control systems on the Toyotas, when I'm off-road and the traction control is trying to do its thing, it's actually using the brakes quite a bit, and I do a lot of off-roading. So I assume that's why I'm going through so much brake pad on the rear end of these things. So I wanted to upgrade. It was time to upgrade. I've got a heavy vehicle, and I've just been chasing brake problems like that for years, or not really a brake problem, but just excessively wearing through brakes. Because my brake calipers are so old, they are starting to wear unevenly. So what I did do, instead of getting new calipers, because I have trust issues with Napa stuff, is I went ahead and I bought a caliper rebuild kit. These are 20 bucks, like OEM Toyota parts. You can find these on eBay, you can find these on Amazon, you can find these at dealerships. And it's really easy to rebuild a caliper. It's pretty simple. You just need a few tools. There are plenty of videos out there on how to do that. I'm not gonna do a whole tutorial on that just because there's better channels for that kind of stuff. Whenever your brakes are hanging up like this, you basically have a piston that's sticking and the other side's gonna try to make up for it. So it's pretty easy. You just pull the pistons out and you clean it up with a wire brush. So I don't know how much more surface area this actually has over an OEM pad, but it looks like it's a fair bit more, like I would guess between like 5 and 10%.
Any extra braking surface you can get from an OEM braking system is a huge upgrade in its own right. That feature alone should add brake life as well as slow the vehicle faster.
This is called an anti-squeal shim. And so this system is not going to have the traditional metal backing plate, nor do they recommend you use one. So hopefully this will help me help you guys out, because I know this thing squeaks a lot whenever I'm off-road. Some of it's ball joints and stuff, it's not necessarily brakes, but either way, if I can neutralize some of those, I'll be very happy to do so. So I'm gonna cut these out. You basically stick it to the back of the brake pad, and then I'm ready to put the system together. Perfect. So some of you guys are going to notice what I have going on right here. We'll get to that in another video soon. It'll either be out before this one or shortly after. So keep your eye on that for a sway bar disconnect system. So anyway, I've got my caliper rebuilt. I'm going to put this all back together. So these kits, there's nothing special to them as far as installation process. This is a direct replacement other than you want to clean up your hub here. And you don't put any sort of anti-seize or anything on there. And so that's that. So now I can just put the pads on like normal. So in the case that you don't have calipers that need any work, I mean, this is just going to be a very quick installation. So something to note on yours is while you have the caliper off, if you are rebuilding those, it's a great opportunity to paint the thing if you want it to look fancy. And it's kind of a budget way to have a better looking brake package. If you guys want your brake system on your old Toyota to have a little bit more of a flair to it, then definitely paint those. You can go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's or something and get that high caliper or high temperature caliper paint. So anyway, it looks great. It's a brake rotor and I do like the dark look to it. I'm sure that will wear with time because I can see a little bit of a sheen to it. And then there is a break-in process. Okay, so I'm done making a mess here for the day, but I'm gonna use this thing for 24 hours and really try to tell if I can tell the difference. I will set up the camera for initial impressions in case I can tell immediately. So I'm gonna come back to the shop tomorrow and give my final thoughts. Okay. So without being able to hammer on it, I just came to a subtle stop from about 65 miles an hour onto the on-ramp here into town, and I could feel a difference because that's the drive that I do from work every single day, and I have to slow down for traffic at that very spot, of course, and I could definitely feel that it was biting a little bit more. So that's awesome. Okay guys, so I have driven this for 24 hours and I don't feel totally comfortable in giving like an actual review yet, just because I really feel like I need to break this brake kit in and really use it on some off-road stuff to get a good idea of how much of an improvement there is. My overall impressions with this kit is that it is impressive. Just the little things that they add, the little details like the temperature markers on this thing. That's gonna be super useful in the future. So the fact that we have a brake company that is solely supporting four-wheel drive overland trucks, I think is just super cool. It'll be awesome to be able to see my temperatures later on and see how hot my brakes have gotten, because I know I've gotten my brakes really hot before. Even though I'm using low gears, sometimes you're going down such a steep trail that you really have to use your brakes as well. And so I'm very interested in being able to monitor that, and I think that that is a huge advantage. I wish I had some of the conversations on video that I've had with DeLon at these expos. The guy really knows what he's talking about. He's not just selling brakes. They are building brakes for us, and they're putting everything they have into it. So I'm very confident in this brake kit. Later down the line, I will do some reviews on this. I just feel like it's too soon to actually tell you guys like, oh wow, I can tell this huge difference. So like and subscribe, because once I have broken this system in, I will be giving feedback in different videos throughout time. Maybe it'll be a trail video, maybe I'll just do a review. We will see. Overall impressions, just the packaging, the presentation, and the workmanship that goes into these things, and the passion behind the creators of this company. I have nothing but confidence in this. So the point of this series is to give your old Toyota some of the new Toyota features. And in this case, we're giving it a better brake package. And in some of my other ones, we're gonna do LED lights, we're gonna do infotainment, we're gonna do some other stuff, and just stick around for that. I'm not forgetting about the FJ, I'm keeping the FJ. I'm gonna have a brand new truck, but the Toyota has a place in my heart. I've been using this thing for like 15 years now. So I don't get any kickback for recommending this company, but I will put links in the description box below. They make them for Toyota, for Jeep, for Lexus. There's all sorts of makes and models that they provide these for. So I've been working on this project for several months now, and I've almost got all the parts to do all this. So if you want to see the rest of this series or see this stuff in action, like and subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time.
As always, thank you so much for watching, and click one of those videos in the corner to see more of our adventure, off-road, and overland related content.